Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mdog5. Welcome back to another video. Now today we are going to be making some inferences based on what we have seen in the Tears of the Kingdom art book. Obviously we're going to be going through it, and there are some things from the art book that I do want to point out, and then I have some concepts that I think that those specific things allude to. That being said, if you don't want to be spoiled via pictures from the art book, which is, I know that's an actual thing that people are worried about. I mean, it doesn't contain too many spoilers, but it definitely gives you information that you otherwise would not have been keen to. So if you want to go into Tears of the Kingdom with the most blind experience possible, obviously don't look at the art book. Well, that being said, let's get into it. So there's some things that stand out to me. Some things in particular is definitely the inclusion of certain characters. So this is obviously Impa. We're all going to see Pyrrha a little bit later down the road. So, regardless, we know that Impa is a character that's returning. This is her final design, more than likely, seeing as these stilts are red. And the fact that we see these stilts and this cane leads me to believe that she's going to be a lot more integral to the story than she was in Breath of the Wild. There's this sky island. We see this swirl on almost the peak of the sky island. We've seen these everywhere, so this is actually something that's pretty important because we see these swirls in like major landmarks. A lot of people think that they're going to be replacing the shrines, or that they serve as fast travel points, but a lot of people also speculated that this is what brings you up into the sky and turns you into a teardrop. But if that's the case, then why is this already on his sky island? You know what I mean? So this is obviously interesting. We see Link's wingsuit, and now we know through patents that Link was going to be able to dive in a different manner, and that you'd be able to change the way that he dives down to the ground based on particular buttons that are going to be available on the controller, obviously, while you are skydiving, and that they do certain actions. So like, for instance, you can drop all the way down, you can glide how he is right there with his appendages extended, if you will. And obviously there's going to be some sort of combat or some sort of traversal in the air, because why else have a whole wingsuit, so there's definitely going to be some air combat. I think that the Rito are actually up here, because if you can't tell from the trailers, there's like a tornado right near Rito Village, or where Rito Village would be, and so it makes sense that the Rito is up in the sky, and that Link would get this outfit when he's up in the sky in order to traverse islands a little bit better. Obviously, it also makes sense that he has a wingsuit, seeing as, you can seamlessly glide from the upper sky islands down to the base Hyrule. We see some new character designs, so obviously Gerudo and the Gerudo town, that's going to be updated, and they're also going to be playing a role in the story. Now this is the same thing, by the way. I don't read Japanese, and I don't think we've gotten translations yet, but this definitely alludes to underwater gameplay. Look at how it glows, right? I mean, potentially, like, we've seen fish that don't glow during the day but then glow at night, like with the stealth fin trout and shit like that. But I mean, I think these fish are here to light up darker water areas. And through several leaks, not even several leaks, but just like a leak, I think, says that we are going to get underwater gameplay, and there's more things that allude to underwater gameplay in the art book as we scroll down a little bit more. This is definitely something that's interesting. This is probably going to be our Gerudo dungeon, if you will. I think all the dungeons are going to be in caves, because we don't see any like structures, but another image will coincide with the point that I'm about to make, is that the caves will be different themed. So like, probably the Elden's dungeon will be like in a cave in the volcano, and it'll be lava themed. For instance, there's going to be a snow dungeon that would also be in like a cave. It's in the middle of a snow cave, so the dungeon will have snow properties. I think this is going to be our desert dungeon, because you see the camels. Vandaboris was a camel. You see this sort of thing. You also see this electricity grid right here, which was something that was in the Vandaboris puzzle. So definitely very interesting. But yes, I do think that all the dungeons will be in caves, but the caves will be different themes. People were going crazy over this. I don't know why. Obviously, new food items are going to be not returning, but introduced, such as cheese. This is Link's, this is interesting because we have a new enemy type here also, but this is a new shield. I don't know if you can see it that well. This is a new shield. You can see it kind of better over here. It's sort of like an ancient shield. You pick it up, it's really thin, and then you actually press whatever, ZR, to dodge, or sorry, to block, and then it will expand into this. And I think these are different levels, right? It says level 1, level 2, level 3. So these are kind of, remember how there's like an ancient shield plus, ancient shield plus. It said plus. This is going to be the same thing. So let's just name this the Zonai shield. So this is the Zonai shield, that's the Zonai shield plus, and then that's the Zonai shield plus. Probably. And this is how they would look when you're actually blocking. Very interesting. You also see the Zonai eye in the matter that makes up the shield. We've seen this on Link's shield throughout the trailers, the new shield, the white shield. We also see this thing on Link that we have been seeing in the trailers, and people were wondering what it was. Yeah, but it's all very interesting. Now, this is a new enemy type. We see that it sort of follows the same theme of, oh, this is the weaker enemy type. This is what I'm going to use to attack. It doesn't have horns, but it has these teeth, right? And then you're probably going to be able to use these teeth and turn it into weapon tips, or use it at the tip of a sword or a spear or something along those lines. The interesting thing, though, is that these don't look contingent on, like, they don't look tiers, right? So this isn't a tier-based enemy, but it looks like an elemental-based enemy. However, you see that this is an enemy that has different tiers. So it could, I'm thinking right now, right? I'm thinking that it's gonna sort of be like a Hinox. So one of two things is gonna occur. Either this is the lower tier and you find this in caves. This is the second tier and you only find it in like the lava region or Elden. And then this is the third tier and you only find it in the snow region. Or all of these have different tiers to them, indicated by the difference in their teeth. Obviously, this looks more intimidating than this, and this looks more intimidating than the other two. Obviously, we have a weak point with the eye, but this is definitely going to be sort of like a Hinox. It looks huge. It looks big, you know, so it's definitely going to be like a sub boss. And then you see the crystals on them. You might be able to strike that and do some damage. Definitely has like an iridescence or like a glow. Definitely going to be able to deal damage off of it. Obviously, there's a Sheikah slate, although some additional leaks that we've gotten of the game leads us to believe that it's not going to be as prominent as it was in Breath of the Wild, or it's just going to have a different purpose or a different role. This is probably the entrance to another dungeon. Here's something that's interesting. We see the different tiers of BAKUGAN finally. So we've seen the first two in the trailer, and just how I described this to you, the black BAKUGAN has a trident, and it looks like you can attach it to a spear. So like these all look like spears that you can attach the weapons to. They're probably going to attack you differently also. They're probably going to use this as a weapon against you, and I wonder like the chance, like there's no way that you kill all of them and then every time you have a new spear that you can create, because that's going to be indicative of a new durability system also. And then you get to wondering, is this going to be the bulk of what we have as weapons? Is this going to be an addition to what you can do on top of having a lot of weapons in Breath of the Wild, a lot of base weapons? It's pretty cool too. It's not only based on like enemy horns, but also objects you can use. I feel like the sky's the limit when it comes to weapon crafting, and this is kind of something that shows it. These look like heart gemstone rocks. Pretty cool. This is obviously the Sacred Ground ruins. In another picture later on, you can see how there's like a marketplace in here. But I think that this is going to be the new military training zone, right? Because wasn't that something that was in Age of Calamity, where you go in and then they teach you how to fight and then you unlock new moves? I mean, that's a possibility. This is also pretty cool. I think this is going to be pretty integral And that looks like a pretty significant pedestal, sorry. Then right under it, the next page is showing this monster. Kind of looks like a Molduga. So this shows like level 1, level 2, level 3. This is kind of interesting. Also level 1, level 2, level 3. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to use this as weapons or if this is going to be like a part of like a dungeon trap. The exploration, if that's a theme in this game, the exploration will be absolutely crazy. Like, oh, here's this structure. Oh, here's a little crack in here. And then it just brings you into like a whole different sort of thing. It's going to be crazy. We saw this, or sorry, we've seen this in the trailer, but it just wasn't lit up. We've seen this location where we have the pools of malice and the enemies were filled with malice, but they were working, they were mining, the bokoblins were mining for something. We saw that the clubs have gotten lighter. So for instance, in Breath of the Wild, this level 2 thing right here was about as thick as this level 3 weapon. But also, you have moblin clubs now, because these are just boko clubs. And then moblins didn't have boko clubs, or it looked like they did, but it just turned into this, like a boko bat. But now we know that they have one-handed weapons. This is a really weak spear because it doesn't have any horns on it, or spikes, like it did in Breath of the Wild. Okay, so here we see a new enemy type. It's kind of hard to discern the tiers, but it looks like this is going to be like in an Elden region, right? It looks fiery. Obviously weaker than this one, which looks like it's going to be in Hebra or Hebra. Like it has ice properties. This one has like electricity. This one's just malice. Based on the design of the horns, I think that they're going to be able to use them both ways. Maybe you're able to jab because there's like a little spike there. You guys see that? Like there's like a little spike there. There's a bunch of spikes there. And then there's spikes on top of the horn right here. So maybe you're able to jab it forward and then swing it downwards like a hammer. Also, they went out of their way to design all of these creatures without their horns, so maybe you can literally just like snatch off their horns. Like maybe you don't have to kill the enemies in order to acquire the horn, or maybe there's a very specific way to get the horn. Maybe you can kill them and then you can't get the horn. That's why I'm wondering like what the % chance that this drops, you know. But new enemy types, I also want to take a look at their design. These look like maybe as big as moblins. Obviously long arms. Their arms are really long in proportion to the rest of their body. So I don't think that they'll carry weapons. Or if they do carry weapons, they'll probably carry spears. Because this hand is closed, this one is open. So they probably carry spears. I don't see them carrying swords. Well, who knows? I think that they'll probably like use their hands. And these all look elemental. So like, let's say if they like raise their hands up and then smack the ground downwards, then this will release like a wave of fire, this will release a wave of ice, electricity, and malice. Now this is what I'm interested in right here. You see this, you see these bubbles at the top of the structure. Look at how the sun is positioned. Look at that, bro. That is definitely underwater. That is absolutely underwater. That looks like the top of an underwater sort of thing. I mean, look, you see the structures outside. And they're like shadowy, but they're obviously on top of this wall right here. And this looks mystical, like you can go up there using the teardrop and then... Yeah, dude, this is literally underwater. This is underwater because you see this, right? You see this ripple. And in the the second teaser, we saw that Link can turn into a teardrop, sort of have this ripple effect, and go through walls. So maybe whenever you need to, you go from here back above this structure and under the surface of the water. Because look, this is literally, these are bubbles. This is water. Dude, I really think that there's going to be underwater gameplay in Breath of the Wild 2, aka Tears of the Kingdom, baby boy. Okay, anyway, yeah, very interesting. I think you go to a blacksmith because this looks like it was done. Like, look, it looks like it was like welded on. But I don't think Link can just like, look, like the sword literally takes some durability. I think it's gonna be a delicate balance between you're giving up some durability to craft this weapon, but then you can upgrade the durability. I was a big fan of Tears of the Kingdom reusing the items that you've acquired throughout Hyrule, because there's a lot of different items that you use, but a lot of them are like, it just boils down to selling them basically. Like, you're not gonna really do much with this, just sell it. This is something that would lead you to believe that Link is able to shrink, because this looks like a normal flower structure, but maybe it's not. Maybe this is just showcasing the structure, a new structure, and then it's like, oh, okay, this is the size comparison between Link, a Link or an NPC, and then these structures. And then we've seen this in the trailer. This is just another way to get across the map. How it's going to work, I think it's going to be player controlled, to be honest. I think, yeah, it's going to be fairly player controlled. This isn't showing too much, although, isn't this a new structure? These structures aren't only, like, new to the ground, or sorry, the sky, but there's also new structures on the ground. Bro, this guy's getting his shit bent over. Huh? Okay, so here we see Link with a new outfit. This really looks underwater-ish. You see the webbed feet. You see the frog skin. You see, like, the clothing. Looks like, oh, I'm going for a swim. I'm gonna get, like, not wet sort of deal. It might be a climbing thing. It could be a climbing thing, but it's also blue. And then why have this on as though he's, like, covering his hair, prevent it from getting wet? Like, obviously it doesn't do those things, but you have to think, like, design-wise. Okay, what do you assimilate between this design and what occurs in real life? So things, like, don't really have to have, like, a use, but it's just that part of, like, recognizing, like, oh yeah, this looks like something that you would wear when you are doing this activity. In this case, it would be swimming. Like, this literally looks like a frog. You can see the coloration, the blue, and then the underside is like an orange, like a bright orange, like a frog, like a poison dart frog. Also, this right here is a dragon's heart. I don't know if you guys know, but reptiles have 3-chambered hearts, and you can see the 3 chambers. So, like, for instance, we're mammals. We have 4-chambered hearts. You have 2 ventricles, 2 aortas. This is literally 3 chambers. And then you have, like, these 3 arteries. I mean, one is, like, technically one is, like, a vena cava, but whatever. It like, distributes blood throughout the body. But basically, reptiles have this, and dragons are modeled after reptiles. Like, dragons are, like, depictions of, like, basically giant snakes with wings and 4 limbs. That's basically what a dragon is. Like the earliest depiction of a dragon in folklore were giant snakes, and snakes have 3-chambered hearts. They're reptiles. So this is definitely belonging to one of the dragons. Why it's right next to this picture, don't ask me, but we're collecting dragon hearts. Now this is interesting. Look at this. Look at this. It kind of looks like a shrine. It doesn't look like a dungeon, but it looks like a shrine setting. It looks like, I mean, you see the tiles, right? And you see the switch. So I think activating the switch would, I don't know, turn this, which in turn turns a different platform, but it looks like a shrine. It looks like a new shrine. You see NPCs. Also, look at this. We know that Link's dad was a knight. And look at that. That is Link. And look at that. That is a grown man with a knight's helmet. We might be getting some Link backstory in this bitch. Like some actual cutscenes showing Link's backstory. Yeah, I do think the changes to the glider, I think they're going to be pretty cosmetic only. That's the vibe it's giving off. Because, I mean, amiibos literally, like, do the same thing. But the glider's customizable. You're probably going to be able to customize the glider. You're going to be able to go to that crazy big head with his ugly wife and that ugly son that he has. The nigga that dyes your clothes, and he's probably going to be able to do the same thing, like decorate your glider. Bro, I knew that they're going to do something with the glider. Like, you could look at Age of Calamity and figure out a whole bunch of shit that's going to be in Tears of the Kingdom. Because in Age of Calamity, everybody had their own glider. So, like, why would they go through the trouble of making different gliders as designs if they didn't want to realize that in future titles? You obviously have to do something here. But it looks to be, like, underwater, sort of. Or, like, I don't know. There's a lot of water here. There have been leaks of themed dungeons. So, I don't know. I see the water here. I see, like, the overgrown trees. Tree roots. I mean, yeah. Tree roots get their vitamins and minerals from water, so maybe you're able to zoom in to places how you were in Breath of the Wild. That's probably going to be a thing. This is kind of interesting. We've seen the structure, you know, from time to time. This is the third thing. You see this cave. It's the same Cave of Malice. This is a pedestal in the middle of water, and it rises from the water. This is Link right here. That's Link right there. And he did something to activate this, which allowed it to rise up from the water. What he did exactly? Well, we'll find that out in about 2 months. You can see this. That's the upper portion. Maybe it goes back down and then you're underwater. This is pretty interesting. This looks like a lung to a brand new enemy that we haven't seen. It looks like it's in a shell though. This probably belongs to An underwater enemy. Just saying. And then, of course, you can have like skeleton bones. You can use like vertebrates. This is a tooth from a new monster. Again, it looks aqueous. This seems to be in Lurlin. This is definitely in Lurlin. You see the background. Absolutely in Lurlin. I think a monster like pulled up in a ship. You have to go to Lurlin and sneak as a monster. That would be a cool concept. See King Dorfin's new design. So we're obviously going to go back to Zora's Domain. Underwater gameplay. Alright, let me stop. I'm infatuated with underwater gameplay. Now, this is what I was talking about. This is the Sacred Ground Ruins. I can't read Japanese. This would probably tell us what this shit is. But you're obviously going to be able to interact with people. I really think that, I mean, like, look at them. They have, like, he has a whole Lysol spear. This is pretty interesting. You see, like, a Minish Cap version of Link. Or a cartoon stylized version of Link. With his arm messed up. And then, obviously, the Keese eyeball with the arrows is a thing that we saw in the trailer, and it will hone in on enemies. This is like the Lamb Mola that we saw in the second teaser trailer, but now we know that they kind of hide in rock, and then they'll be like everywhere. So there's gonna be like fire cave sections, ice cave sections, electric cave sections, or something of that sort. Is this like a new element maybe? Then we see Pura. She's no longer childlike. She's like in the middle again. She should be really old. That's like, in actuality, she should be really old. But she looks like the same age as what she was in Age of Calamity. And this is, I think it's a Hinox no, that's a Hinox toenail. But this is something new, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and so you're going to be able to do that. I mean, I think this is like the toenail of that new long-armed enemy that we saw earlier, like a fingernail or something. But you're gonna be able to like attach, maybe it's conceptualized, but like that's a Bokoblin fang, that's a Lysol talon, that's a Hinox toenail. You're gonna be able to put that on weapons. You're gonna put everything on weapons. And so yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I think this is like a dungeon possibly. But it's going to be like an ice dungeon, and we see like the gumball machine thing over here, because this is obviously in Hebra. You look down below, or no, this is like Lanayru. Lanayru is also snowy, and then you go in there, but it's going to be snow themed, like a snow themed cavern, or sorry, like a snow themed cave. Goron City is going to be a thing. That's prime rock roast. You have Link right there. See Goron. And I mean, look at these keys. I mean, so this looks like an Octork eye right here, right? Doesn't look like a Keese eyeball. This looks like a Keese eyeball. This looks like an Octork eye. Then like a Snow Octork eye. And then like something else, like another element. And here's like the fire themed dungeon that people were talking about. Then you see like the different faces, and then you see that they're able to awaken basically. You see it's like eyes shut, eyes open, mouth open. Now you do 5 of them, and you're able to progress into a room, which would lead you into the boss. And then this is very obviously lava themed. You see the lava pouring down in this structure, very obviously lava themed. And so yeah, that's just the general consensus that people are getting. I think this picture right here is inside of this, obviously. I mean, you see the shape, you see this right here, you see the lava pouring down. I think the point is going to be to open up all the mouths, which would open up this circle here, which will allow lava to drip down, and then that'll probably activate something. This seems to be in Kakariko Village. Yeah, this is definitely in Kakariko Village, and this is telling Link information about that flying figure. I think this person, whoever owns this room, has documented all the new occurrences in Hyrule, and so we'll be seeing this person very early. Yeah, and like this looks like an entirely new enemy. Like, look at this. It looks like nothing we've seen before. Like with big ass noses. Like it looks like, I don't know. Obviously we have new monster masks, but what kind of enemy would this be for? We haven't seen anything like it yet. You see like the fire keys, the ice keys, electric keys, normal keys. But then look at this eye right here. It might belong to the fire keys, but I think it's like a malice keys. Look at that. The coloration literally looks like a malice eyeball. I wonder what this weapon is. I feel like this is a rod that you can put something in, like any element you want. You can put like fire essence in here, and then you swing it, and then, because look, this piece is like non-existent. Like you need to fill it. Expectations for this game have been like, are just like into space, bro. Like fuck the sky. The sky doesn't do it for the expectations that are placed on this game. And strangely enough, I think that they will deliver. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys next time.